Hello everyone, it's Maha. Thank you so much for joining me here again on my channel. So today I wanted to talk about something that I've been thinking a lot about lately in working with crystals. And that is working actively and passively with crystals. I've been thinking a lot about this lately since I personally have been working a lot more passively with crystals in the past 7 months. Now, let me just define what I mean when I say working passively and actively with crystals. So, generally when we read or watch or even look at anything where people are talking about working with crystals, we hear that we program our crystals, we cleanse them first, we program them with intentions, we put our intentions into them, and then we work with them consciously. So I would call that more of an active way of working with crystals versus what I've come to understand as passive being more of an intuitive or meditative process of working with crystals, which is what I've most comfortably felt guided to do in the past. For whatever reason, I haven't really been drawn to the actual linear way of programming a crystal, putting my intention into it, but my approach has been more intuitive. For example, some examples of working intuitively or what I call passive with crystals would be working with them during meditation, like holding them during meditation, holding them in my hand when I feel drawn to for whatever reason, perhaps feeling the need to put a certain crystal on a certain body part, not for any reason, not for any logical reason, not because I read it somewhere, but because I just felt like my body needed that. You know, it's kind of more instinctual. And then other ways of working passively with crystals for me have been when I'm sleeping. So I take my crystals to bed, and I've made videos about that. I've talked a lot about it, just taking my crystals to bed with me and laying them over different parts of my body, which align with chakras, but not doing that intentionally, just sort of intuitively. So when I say active versus passive, I'm talking more in terms of the yin and yang, not passive as in in a negative way, as in we're not doing something, because it is actually quite powerful to be doing that type of work in a passive way, just as it is in an active way. But I think in our society in general, we tend to give more importance to the conscious mind and the more goal-oriented aspect, like setting goals, setting intentions, whereas the more passive approach is the more quiet, more still, silent, meditative, intuitive approach. And that is very powerful. I think just as powerful, if not even more powerful sometimes. It's the feminine versus the masculine. Now, lately I've been thinking a lot about this balance of the feminine and masculine, and I thought that this approach really works when I work with crystals this way, and it happens sort of naturally for me. This was sort of an insight that came to me one night just before falling asleep, because I found that instead of just, for a long time, let me just say, I did take my crystals to bed with me at night, and I was just drawn to certain crystals for no specific reasons, just because intuitively I felt guided to take a certain crystal with me and sleep with it that night. They tended to be more crystals that were more calming, had calming energies, like selenite, blue lace agate, rose quartz, unakite, sometimes amethyst, lately more lapis lazuli. And I want to make videos, everybody, I thought about this, I want to make a series of videos of working with crystals for sleep and for dream work. That's a really huge topic that I'm so passionate about, and I really feel like it's one thing I'm that I'm guided to do on this channel, and one of the purposes that recently I've been told by my higher self that I want to add more of this kind of content and spread this and share this through my own experience, of course, of working with crystals and deepening my work with them. I find that my work with crystals has really deepened over the years, and so this approach that I'm going to be talking about, where this balance of the yin and yang, of the passive versus active way of working with crystals, came to me one night when I was going to bed, and I was working with my lapis, my favorite lapis piece that's near my bed, on my night table by my bed. And I haven't, although I've always loved lapis, I haven't really felt ready, I guess, to really work with its energies. And the way it sort of came to me, the way I started working with it, was I was experiencing, probably I would say when this whole coronavirus started about 7 months ago, I was experiencing a lot of issues with sleep. And my mind was very active. I was experiencing a lot of anxiety. And I felt the need to take the lapis that I had and put it on my third eye. And I found that it really calmed my thinking. It really made my mind more meditative, and it really helped with that state of the brain waves before sleep, like falling into sleep. It really helped to calm my brain and bring it into that state. So then, as I was working more with lapis, I had this insight that the reason I haven't felt the need to work with crystals in a linear approach, which is programming them and setting the intention and working with them that way, is because I needed to work with them more intuitively in a passive approach. But now I'm feeling that I can combine these two ways of working with crystals for getting really powerful results for my own spiritual growth and for my own inner work. So an example of how I combine a passive and active approach would be, for example, taking a crystal to bed with me to sleep with conscious awareness that I'm going to bring this crystal's energies for healing. For example, if I need healing in a certain area, I will bring in my knowledge, my conscious awareness into my knowledge of the chakras, the chakra system. So if I'm feeling a lot of anxiety, I might want to bring a piece of amethyst. The color purple, which is the complementary color to green, would resonate, complementary color to yellow would resonate with my the imbalance I might be feeling in my solar plexus chakra. So the yellow color versus that opposite color, amethyst, could bring calmness to that chakra, for example. Or I might do the same with the navel chakra. I made a video a while ago, I think it was last September actually, on working with complementary colors in crystal healing, and I will link that down below. So you'll know what I'm talking about when, so you have this knowledge of color system, of chakra system, and then you use that knowledge consciously and you bring it to the nighttime, to the sleep time. So you're sort of combining this passive and active approach. Now, this is something I have not read anywhere. This is something I'm sharing with you that I just came up with. Like, it was an insight that came to me. So it's all very fresh in my mind, and I'm, working with this idea more. And as it evolves, I will share more on my channel as I learn how to perhaps teach this. I don't know if I am right now teaching it. I'm just sharing it. It is something that's evolving, and I really feel like there's something there. There's something in that, because I'm not sure if any of you have been like me. not feeling really guided to working with crystals in the way that a lot of textbooks talk about it. Like take the stone, cleanse it, program it, and then put your intention into it. Never really resonated with that. For me, wearing jewelry is a very active process. Wearing crystal jewelry, for example, is a very active way of working with crystals, because I will be going somewhere and I feel like I need extra protection there. So I will wear, my protective crystals like labradorite or smoky quartz or red garnet, and then if I'm going to an event, for example, where I feel like there's going to be a lot of harsh energies, I'm not going to wear my rose quartz crystal. So that's a conscious decision. That's an active decision. But the crystal is passively working on my body. It's doing its work on my body. I never programmed any intentions into it. The intention that I put into it was sort of intuitive. So, for example, all the crystals that I have all around my space here, I intuitively felt like they needed to go where they went. But there's like a fine line between this active and passive approach. And I find this so fascinating, and it's something that I'm really, really thinking more and more about. And I wanted to share it with you to see what you think about it and see if that resonates with you. And being able to combine, like being aware that there are two ways of working with crystals, and then bringing the two together into a balance, I think makes the work even more powerful. So now, because one of my favorite ways of working with crystals is working with them at night during sleep, taking them with me in my bedroom, or actually I do have a lot in my bedroom, but sometimes I bring them here in my living room. Sometimes I take them to the different rooms, even to my bathroom, to have them around me. So I might think of something like my lapis, my favorite lapis piece is there to help me listen to my intuition more. So whenever I see my lapis, anywhere it is, wherever I've placed it, it reminds me that to listen to my intuition. It reminds me to listen to my intuition. So I've talked about this in other videos when I shared about working with crystals, being able to use memory as a way of like just putting your memory into the crystal. Like, I remember when such and such happened, I was thinking this and I was holding this crystal. So it's almost like you're corresponding a thought or a memory to the crystal. And that's really powerful. I mean, that's the work of the mind. That's what the mind is doing. The mind is connecting things all the time. Our subconscious mind is taking information and making connections all the time as we go along, without us even noticing it. So I think this is one place, this is one area where working with crystals can be really powerful. Some people I've talked to don't believe that crystals actually have the ability to hold memory. Whether or not you believe that, the mind is powerful. So we make associations with everything, with everywhere, with places, with people. We make associations without even realizing it. So I think that whether or not one believes that crystals hold memory, it's a bit pointless to even have to prove that, because we know that we have our minds, and we know that we can use crystals as a tool then in that way to help us grow, to help us achieve our goals if we want that, and to also help us with our meditation, with our spiritual practice, with sleep, with dreams, which is a huge topic that I'm really fascinated by. In terms of working with crystals, certain crystals have really helped me with my dream work. And so I want to talk about that in later videos. I want to actually create a series, and please let me know if you're interested in this. I want to make a series on different crystals and how I've come to learn that they have influenced my dream work, my dreams. So in this passive and active approach, the balance of the two, there are many ways to explore, and I'm still exploring. But one of the ways is what I shared with you, working with them during sleep, taking the crystals to bed with me and consciously, for example, placing them on certain chakras of the body, being aware that this is a crystal that works for this, so therefore I'm taking it with me to bed. And then while I sleep, the crystal does its work and it goes into, like, it absorbs into my subconscious mind. It affects my dreams. It actually does. And I really see how in the past couple of years since I've been doing this work with crystals at nighttime, my dreams have become much more, not only vivid, but they've become like stories. Like, I can wake up several times during the night and I go back to the same dream again. And then in the morning, I remember the dream. And then at night, just before falling asleep, I go back to the same dream again. So they have helped me, I believe, to access this ability of creating a night life. Like, I would say that at night, when I go to sleep, I open up to a different world. It's like I have my day life and I have my night life. It's one and the same, but two separate. It's like I'm just as awake at night as I am during the day. And this is something that has developed over the years with meditation, of course, and inner growth. However, crystals have had a huge impact on this for me. No doubt about it. And I think that recently, like just last week, when I thought about this passive versus active approach of working with crystals, I thought that I can bring this to my daytime life, that I can use the intuition and use that kind of meditative state to tap into the crystal and carry it with me throughout the day, knowing the intention that's absorbed into it. If that makes sense. It's a really subtle concept to describe, and of course words are always limited, I feel. So if one becomes sensitive enough and starts working enough with crystals during a more passive state, like during a more meditative state, a more calmer, relaxed state, then this conscious, more intentional approach of working with crystals can become even more powerful. So what I wanted to say mainly in this video, as a way of summarizing what I wanted to say, is that the focus tends to be, in general, on working very consciously and intentionally with crystals. However, I wanted to just suggest that the passive way of working with crystals is just as powerful, and we can combine those two ways of working with crystals to then really get really powerful results in working with them. So I hope that you enjoyed this video where I just shared some of my thoughts about passively and actively working with crystals, and I really want to hear what you think about it. And I also want to hear if you're interested in knowing more about how I work with crystals, and more specifically working with crystals for nighttime and dream work. Anything related with that. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining me once again. Thank you for listening, and I'm looking forward to reading your comments. Have a really good day or night, wherever you are. I'm sending you lots of kisses and blessings. Bye, everyone.